On Thursday Night Football, the Patriots beat the Falcons 25-0. And the game could not have gone more opposite for Atlanta and New England. Atlanta, it's bad. It's really bad right now. I think in the last two games, they've had probably their worst stretch of football. Right now feels like a low point for the Atlanta Falcons. They lost on Sunday horribly to Dallas. They lost again on Thursday Night Football. In the last two games, Atlanta has been outscored 68-3. Horrible, embarrassing, bad performances. They lost, 68 minus 25 should be 43. So they lost 43-3 on Sunday. Here and now, today they lost Thursday night. On Thursday Night Football, they lost 25-0 to New England. It's awful. I don't think that things can get much worse from here. And we got a question on Patreon. You can write into the show on Patreon, patreon.com/Zach Schomler. Menko wrote in today. Let me see if I can open it. He wrote in and he said, sorry for not opening this earlier. He said, of course. Menko says, I am done with Arthur Smith. It was bad enough not drafting a quarterback, but now to be an offensive-minded coach who can't move the ball, I think he's out next year. Yeah, man. It's hard to tell because Atlanta is clearly rebuilding with a new head coach, and I don't want to be the guy who's like, he's awful, he's terrible, but I mean, he is an offensive-minded coach, and the Falcons' offense looks horrible. And Matt Ryan is not a bad quarterback. Like, I say whatever you want about Matt Ryan. He's a former NFL MVP who's getting hit like every single play. Yeah, I don't think you can blame Atlanta's struggles on Matt Ryan. And we'll get into that in a moment. I really, every time I watch Atlanta, I just go, I feel so bad for Matt Ryan. He's not getting the support he needs. It's horrible there. And Arthur Smith, I did not feel good about him getting hired at the time. I remember, I wasn't like, this is a terrible hire, but I remember feeling very lukewarm and thinking that when he was in Tennessee last year as the offensive coordinator, I actually wasn't a fan of what he was doing. I thought that he needed to evolve Tennessee's passing game a little bit. And I'm starting to feel like my hesitation to embrace him as the Falcons head coach is getting validated. I'm like, yeah, things aren't good. Now, the Patriots, oh my gosh, they're winning game after game after game. And I was really early onto the Patriots bandwagon. I was like, look, this team, at bandwagon's probably the wrong word there. I believed in them a while ago. Like they're playing great football. They run the ball well. They play great defense. Mac Jones, he had one mistake. He threw an interception against Atlanta. A.J. Terrell made a fantastic interception. It was not a great decision by Mac Jones. The pick he threw is throwing a seam ball down the right hash. And, I mean, really what happened was A.J. Terrell kind of did his own thing. He left his assignment. He read Mac Jones' eyes. If Mac Jones could, kind of see what A.J. Terrell was doing and who left his assignment, left N'Keal Harry wide open on the right sideline, in theory, it could have hit N'Keal Harry, but he decided to throw, and A.J. Terrell left his spot and made a really great interception. Good for him. Other than the pick, though, Mac Jones was 22 for 26 with 270 yards and a touchdown, and the dude is just distributing the ball. Like, he's just making great decision after great decision, putting the ball in the right spot. And I want to praise Mac Jones. It's pretty crazy how quickly he has been able to gain the confidence of the Patriots organization and the Patriots fan base. And if you watch the broadcast, you heard Troy Aikman talk about how, Bill Belichick isn't going to retire anytime soon because now he's got a quarterback for the next 10 to 15, maybe 18 years. And you're like, what? And it's really remarkable how quickly Mac Jones has gained the confidence of everybody watching him. He's done what a lot of young quarterbacks have been completely unable to do. Tua, I love Tua. You know this. Tua Tagovailoa doesn't have the confidence of even me, his biggest supporter, let alone his fan base. And, Dwayne Haskins failed, Sam Darnold failed, Baker Mayfield nobody believes in Baker Mayfield long-term in Cleveland, Josh Rosen. I mean, part of it, and this cannot be understated, part of why Mac Jones is doing so well is because he's on a good football team. They do run the ball well. They do have a good defense. They did get him a couple tight ends and some receivers. I mean, they really did support Mac Jones, which that's exactly what you do with a young quarterback. If you're developing a young quarterback, you got to get them help. And Mac Jones has been given a lot of help. And then the other part is you got to give credit to Mac Jones. Mac Jones has played very, very well. And I mean, look, he's incredibly accurate. He's making great decisions, sending the ball to the right spot. He's not afraid to play boring, meaning that if you give Mac Jones a 5-yard completion, he'll take it every single time. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's kind of crazy. He identifies good matchups. That's actually a Joe Burrow thing. When you watch Joe Burrow in college, I remember being so amazed by Joe Burrow's ability to make sure his first read was the right one. And what that means is that you often hear people talk about how he's a one-read quarterback. Well, kind of. If you have a quarterback who's throwing to their first read all the time, part of that might be it's a great play call where the quarterback is being set up to succeed. And that is true a lot of the time. And Mac Jones, I think, is benefiting from good play calling from Josh McDaniels, the Patriots offensive coordinator. But let's not, hesitate to give credit to Mac Jones where it's deserved, because he's also identifying good matchups. Part of why he's throwing to his first read a lot is because he's going, where's my best spot to throw the football? And the first option's the best one because he made the right decision pre-snap or post-snap. He had, he identified a coverage and said, snap the ball, and then confirmed what he identified before the snap, finds the right spot, throws the ball to his first read. It happens all the time. And it's just really cool how patient Mac Jones is. He's just, easily one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And I now have said, Josh Allen in my mind is no longer a young quarterback. We're talking guys in their first, second year who are still trying to prove themselves. And would you rather have Baker Mayfield right now or Mac Jones? like Mac Jones is better than Baker, like by a lot. Patient, taking the right, it's really remarkable how well Mac Jones is playing. I want to give him credit there. Now, there was a horrible drive I want to talk about with the Atlanta Falcons. It's just disgraceful. They had a situation where Matt Ryan had a 3rd and 1, and Matt Ryan had such an easy opportunity to throw the ball the way they run play action. He's got a defender on his face. Matt Ryan tries to move out of the pocket. He's got a defender in his face. He pump fakes. Guy doesn't bite. Matt, throw the ball away. Get the ball out of your hands. Matt Ryan doesn't throw the ball away on 4th and 1. On 3rd and 1, Takes a 13-yard sack. So what was 3rd and 1 becomes 4th and 14 because Matt Ryan didn't throw the ball away. And then, so if Matt Ryan throws the ball away on 3rd and 1, then you can either go for it or, because you're on the 13, 14-yard line, by the way, 3rd and 1. You either kick an easy field goal or you go for it maybe on 4th and 1. If Matt Ryan throws the ball away, that's why you're throwing the ball, by the way, on 3rd and 1 is because you're like, hey, if we don't get it here, we can go for it on 4th and 1. Instead, Matt Ryan takes a boneheaded sack. Then Atlanta lines up to kick a field goal. Not easy, but it's a 45-yard field goal. Would have been easier, by the way, if Matt Ryan hadn't taken the sack. The Falcons make the 45-yard field goal. Oh, but guess what? Illegal formation on the kick. They got to kick again, this time from 50 yards, and the Falcons kicker missed. And you're like, it's just bad football all around. Don't take the sack on 3rd and 1. And then when you finally do make the 45-yard field goal, let's not have an illegal formation penalty. The Falcons look horrible. It's just bad play after bad play after bad play. And I just, again, you can blame Matt Ryan. That offensive line is doing him no favors. It's frustrating. It's not good to see. And again, I want to touch on that. I've got an idea for a Matt Ryan trade that could be fun. First of all, I want to read a question. Let me find it. It is from. The question is from. Oh, it's a different spot. There we go. It's from Brass Monkey. He says, as it stands right now, Patriots versus Chiefs, who wins? So. Yeah, I was watching the game, and I was trying to think of, okay, who could give the Patriots some problems right now? They run the ball well. They play great defense. The only limitation the Patriots have right now is they just don't throw the ball downfield a lot. When you watch the Green Bay Packers, they are throwing the ball all over the field. The Patriots aren't doing that. They've got one completion or even one attempt beyond 20 yards. They're just not throwing the ball downfield. And I'm like, well, maybe Miami could give the Patriots some trouble. Now, the Patriots and Miami do not play again until the final game of the year. And so the Patriots might luck out. They might miss a good game plan from Miami simply because they might be resting their starters to get ready for the playoffs. So that's an interesting thought there. But then the next thing I thought of was like, oh man, it'd be really cool to see Kansas City play against Mac Jones. We watched the Kansas City Chiefs against Jordan Love. Was it last week, 2 weeks ago? I don't remember how recent it was. But they had this really great game plan where they blitzed Jordan Love, a ton of young quarterback. They played man coverage on the outside and said, you have to beat us throwing the ball downfield. We're going to take away your running game. We are going to blitz you a ton, play cover zero, and challenge you to beat our man coverage. Jordan Love was incapable of doing that. He couldn't identify blitzes very well. He couldn't beat man coverage. I'd love to find out, could Mac Jones beat the man coverage from the Kansas City Chiefs? Is that even possible? That would be really, I have to know. That sounds amazing to find out. I really, really want to see that matchup. And I think that would, talk about a wild card weekend. Patriots against Kansas City would be an amazing matchup. I want to see that. I am now rooting for that. I didn't think I would be, but I very much want to see that. All right. Let me see if there's any other notes before we get into a potential Matt Ryan trade. The offensive line is bad. Oh, man. Here's something I didn't talk about yet from this game. So Atlanta threw not one, not two, not three even, but 4 interceptions in a row on their final 4 drives. It's awful. Matt Ryan was 19 for 28 passing, 153 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's had a really bad couple games. But on the final 4 drives of the game, Atlanta threw 4 interceptions. The first one was kind of a throw that Matt Ryan was forcing downfield. Nothing was really there. He's getting hit as he throws. I can't blame Matt Ryan at this point for an interception like that late in the game in the fourth quarter. Your offense has done nothing all day. You're getting more and more desperate. You're trying to make a play. By the fourth quarter, you're down a bunch of points. You're trying to make something happen. I don't blame Matt Ryan at all for throwing a bad interception. Just trying to make something happen downfield. On the second interception, Matt Ryan throws the ball a little bit high along the left sideline. Receiver tips it up. J.C. Jackson grabs it. Almost a pick six, by the way, but J.C. Jackson stepped out of bounds. So Matt Ryan had 2 interceptions. They go, we're down a bunch of points. Let's take Matt Ryan out. In comes Josh Rosen. He's 1 for 3 with a pick 6. And you're like, oh, Josh. Oh, my gosh. And then on the next drive, they put in Felipe Franks instead at quarterback. He goes 0 for 1, also with an interception. One play for Felipe Franks on the day, throws a pick. Interception, 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 interception. It's all bad. Atlanta, people clown on Robert Saleh. The Jets defense is horrible, and Robert Saleh is supposed to be a defensive-minded coach. What about Arthur Smith? He's supposed to be an offensive-minded coach, and the Falcons' offense right now looks absolutely horrible. It doesn't matter what they put out there, what quarterback they have. Everybody's bad. I don't know. I think that people are very, very quick to come after Matt Ryan and blame Matt Ryan for the challenges that their team, the Atlanta Falcons football team, is having. Man, when you give Matt Ryan support, we have seen him. He won an NFL MVP. He went to a Super Bowl. He lost, but man, you can't deny Matt Ryan's ability. And the dude is a warrior. He's getting hit every single play. I mentioned it earlier. When I watch the Falcons, I just feel bad for Matt Ryan. That offensive line is horrible. There's nothing you can do there. And it's not a great quarterback draft. And Atlanta isn't going anywhere. They got an aging quarterback, Matt Ryan, who might be more valuable to them as a trade piece than to continue trying to win and rebuilding around him. And I think it'd be weird to not at least mention the possibility of a Matt Ryan trade. Again, not a great quarterback draft. You got Malik Willis, Matt Corral. We'll see where they pan out and where they shake out in the draft. But, I mean, after that, it's like, And so there's a lot of quarterback-needy teams around the NFL. Matt Ryan's a name that hasn't been brought up yet as a potential guy who could be moving this offseason that I think should be mentioned. So they're not going to trade him to New Orleans. They're not going to trade him to Carolina. That's in their division, the NFC South. But I've come up with 5 teams that I think are the top 5 potential trade destinations for Matt Ryan and where Atlanta could send him. Now, I don't know that it entirely makes sense for Atlanta to trade away Matt Ryan. Again, it would make sense for the fact that if they want to rebuild, They might want to get a younger quarterback. They might want to just reset everything and truly do a reset because it's not working with Matt Ryan. Maybe they want to trade him away, get a king's ransom for him. But I don't know that I would trade away Matt Ryan. I'd try to keep building around him. However, as a fan who does believe in Matt Ryan, I want Matt Ryan out of there. Does a trade make sense? I'm not entirely sure, but I want to rescue Matt Ryan from this horrible Atlanta Falcons offensive line, this bad situation with a coach I don't really believe in. It's a bad organization. So the best team I think you could send Matt Ryan to, it's a dream situation. I don't know if it works financially, but the Cleveland Browns have a lot of weapons down there in Cleveland. They run the ball well. They have some good receivers. They got a couple of good tight ends. Austin Hooper used to play with Matt Ryan in Atlanta. Imagine sending Matt Ryan to Cleveland. What's the problem in Cleveland right now? Injuries is one. Number two, Baker's not playing very well. Baker Mayfield, their young quarterback. I mean, the options are open. Cleveland is looking at everything they can do to try to get better quarterback play next year. I solved your problem. Go get Matt Ryan. That'd be incredible. So that's one option. Option number two, and by the way, maybe Cleveland sends Baker to Atlanta and they try to build around Baker Mayfield. I don't know. I mean, if you get Baker and a couple first-round picks, do you send... if you're Cleveland and you can get Matt Ryan for Baker Mayfield and a first-round pick or two, I think you make that deal. Now, can they afford to make that deal? I don't know. Like, financially, can they pay him with their salary cap? I don't know. That's a question for someone else to figure out. I wish I knew that answer. I put this together. I'm like, that sounds like a fun trade. The Denver Broncos is another spot Matt Ryan could go where it's another quarterback-needy team that's got some good weapons. They're ready to win. They just need good quarterback play. Hey, Matt Ryan could solve that problem as well. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers is a team. They got Big Ben about to retire. And they're another reason why. So all these teams, the top 5 teams I think Matt Ryan could go to are all AFC teams where Atlanta doesn't want to trade away Matt Ryan and then have to play him twice a year or have to play him maybe in the playoffs. So like, we don't want to do that. Let's send him to an AFC team. Pittsburgh is a good spot. They're a team that needs a quarterback. And I don't know that I believe in Dwayne Haskins. The NFL draft isn't great for quarterbacks this year. How about trading for Matt Ryan? Matt Ryan to Pittsburgh makes a lot of sense. It'd be really good. That would be a good spot for him to land because I want Matt Ryan to go somewhere where he can win. I feel bad for him, and I really want to see him go somewhere with more support and more help to help him win. Team number 4, how about Houston? Imagine Deshaun Watson, if his legal stuff works out. Imagine Deshaun Watson going to Atlanta. That'd be fun, first of all. And then imagine Houston just, getting a high-level quarterback. Now, it would suck for Matt Ryan to go to Houston. They're awful. That would suck. But if you're going to trade away Deshaun Watson and you want a quarterback in return, I'm sorry, I would rather have Matt Ryan than Tua. Like, Houston's got to try to make a trade to get rid of Deshaun Watson. Get a couple of first-round picks and Matt Ryan. Hey, we're talking. You got a good quarterback. You got a couple of first-round picks. And it's better than, getting Tua, who I love Tua. I don't know that I would trade Deshaun Watson for Tua based on how at least their ability, based on how good they are on the field. They're not even close to comparable. At least if you trade Deshaun Watson for Matt Ryan, you're getting good quarterback play from that trade. The 5th best spot you could send Matt Ryan is maybe Miami. Miami has Tua. It seems like they just don't believe in him. They don't want him. They refuse to build around him. Now, Matt Ryan would go from a team with a bad offensive line to another team with a bad offensive line. This trade would be not fun for Matt Ryan. But it's clear Miami, they wanted Deshaun Watson. Miami was ready to make a deal yesterday for Deshaun Watson. And not literally yesterday, but at the trade deadline, they clearly tried really hard to get Deshaun Watson. So Miami is in the mix to get a quarterback. Hey, Miami, you guys want Matt Ryan? That's it. I get on the phone and make that call. We'll give you Matt Ryan for a couple first-round picks and Tua. And we'll see what we can do with Tua. And if Tua doesn't work out, it's kind of like the Jared Goff trade where you're like, well, Jared Goff isn't our long-term quarterback, but we got a couple first-round picks and we can use them to rebuild. So the top 5 trade destinations where Matt Ryan could potentially go. You got Cleveland, you got Denver, Pittsburgh, Houston, and maybe Miami. I think New Orleans could use him, but why would you trade your quarterback to a division rival. Same with Carolina. But I think the Browns with Matt Ryan would be fantastic. Denver too, but the Browns especially are a team that the way they play, the way they use play action, it's just a home run. Kevin Stefanski with Matt Ryan at quarterback, he could execute that offense at a high level. And I think that would be a lot of fun to see. So, I don't know. Stop blaming Matt Ryan for the problems in Atlanta. Does he throw some picks because he's desperate and got no help? Yes, absolutely. But I just think that it's really, really frustrating to watch Matt Ryan try to make the best of a bad situation in Atlanta.